When we talk about investor sellers and investor buyers, we see negotiating towards alignment. In real estate, it's a very slow process of timing. Now time is different to see that. Watch the show Pawn Stars or the TV show Hardcore Pawn. Or even watch professional sports card traders on YouTube channels. You'll get an idea of how both sides are coming from very different identities. You know, people pawning something because they are desperate for cash today is a little like a motivated cash seller. A property owner who sells on creative terms is a little bit like someone who sells on consignment at the pawn shop. Let me go more in depth on this now. In the pawn shows, it may look like control, convincing, or selling someone on your price. But what's happening is people need to sell themselves, and it doesn't usually happen as fast as the show depicts it, unless people have emotionally rehearsed it some ahead of time. That's where the timing comes in. I watched the guy tow in a Dr. Kevorkian van a couple days ago on an episode. And the owner of the pawn shop said, "It's cool." He clearly liked it, but had no idea if and when he could ever sell it. That's his risk, right? The emotions were tense, emotions were high. The guy had he had the title. The guy had the title and all of the paperwork. It seemed pretty legit. His identity was pretty wrapped up into it, the seller that is. He wanted $100,000, and the pawn shop owner, being a great poker player, took a moment and said $20,000. Now, for him to lowball that much, you need thick skin and to have got your ass handed to you a few times on some losses. He's protecting his business after all. The guy maybe came down to $75K after that. It was heated. They went back and forth. He almost walked away at $35,000, and the pawn shop owner was at $30,000. It looked like their egos couldn't find alignment. So what did they do? Flipped a coin, of course. Makes for good TV, right? $20,000 or $40,000 will be decided on a coin flip. He had to figure out if he wanted to flip for it. Thought about it a little bit. They had to have some commercial breaks, of course, and some pre-paving and some space to identify with the $40,000 desire or the fear of getting spanked at the only $20,000. The owner's grown kids gathered around and they flipped the coin. High fives everywhere. The pawn shop owner won. Even though they didn't show the coin, the flipping coin statement got me thinking how brilliant that was for negotiating. You know, buying a property for cash for a fix and flip is emotional for both sides. It's about desire and fear as well. It reminds me of the haves and wants section over on the first Tuesday of every month at MNREIA. I'll add a link in this post. Some investor sellers or wholesalers need cash right now in time, whereas an investor buyer and rehabber fears losses or has got a few hard lessons from the past, and they'll slow down in timing more until it's just right. Many sellers aren't that motivated, and they maybe are getting the opportunity to get a higher price through seller financing. But as the housing market starts to add inventory, the sellers will need offers, some amazing terms for a landlord planning to hold for a really long time. So, speaking of negotiating, in other news, a new report that I'm seeing out there from the Intercontinental Exchange shows that nearly 875,000 homeowners now owe more on their mortgages than their properties are worth. That's the highest level in 3 years. The softening home prices and elevated borrowing costs squeeze household finances, as it said in the story. There will be some major short sales with the loss mitigation departments, with lenders coming soon. Trust the timing of that. And if you want even more over leveraged topics, check out the AI bubble, circular financing that's being heavily funded by people's 401ks and S&P concentration of funds, and how the employee quadrant people are putting up a lot of the money and the risk to help inflate for the business and investor quadrant people. A lot of news on that out there. You also need to look up the massive Michael Saylor speculation in Bitcoin nosedive into the ground. Also check my Facebook for George Gammon's YouTube video on how real estate is turning into a casino, with the easier barrier to entry, the day trading for rental properties, with the company Arrived, which is from Amazon. It's pretty wild. Watched it last night. So in this economy, either you are motivated as a seller of a property at a great discount or seller financing terms, maybe even a wholesaler that's selling, want to sign it. Or you are an investor, buyer with cash for a nice flip property. Be a landlord with great buy and hold. Could be that as well, with seller financing terms that make a lot of sense to you, that are very aggressive seller financing terms. Either way, attend MNREIA's first Tuesday night in the haves and wants section. Make some money, a big check, or some cash flow. Good luck.